Today, I'm going to try and convince all those of you who have not yet opened your mind to Formula E to give it a watch this weekend. I'm a huge fan of Formula E, as most of you will know by now. I have been since the very beginning. I've been involved in the sport since its very beginning, really, as well. But I know that it's not been completely well received in all quarters, and one of the biggest areas, I think, of scepticism around Formula E has come from the traditional motorsport camp, if you like. People like, I guess, many of you watching, Formula One fans. I know you love your, loud, screaming, gas-guzzling V8s. So do I. But there's no reason you can't enjoy Formula E as well. So here are my reasons why you need to open your mind and give it a go this weekend. One of the biggest areas of criticism that I always hear around Formula One, and we've been talking about it for years, I hear fans talking about it, media commentators talking about it, people within the sport talking about it, is that we want to have close racing. We want to have wheel-to-wheel racing. We want cars to be allowed to follow each other closely to make the racing more of a spectacle. Formula E has that in abundance. Oh my goodness. I mean, we have cars bashing into each other because the suspension's made of steel and it's stronger than that of a racing car like a Formula One car. So you can touch wheels and not have the thing fall apart on you. Cars are not reliant on complex aerodynamics like in Formula One. So they don't get upset by the turbulent wake of the car in front, which means that they can follow each other much more closely, nose to tail. All of those things mean you get great racing. You want unpredictable racing. There's been criticism over the last few years that we get to a Formula One Grand Prix, for example, and we pretty much know who's going to come out on top, certainly which team's going to come out on top, and therefore maybe it's a battle between two cars. Well, in Formula E, you go into the last lap of most races having no idea who's going to win. In fact, for the first 3 seasons that this sport has been going, we've got into the final weekend of a championship not knowing who's going to come out on top. You can't really ask for much more than that in any kind of live sporting event, and to go into the closing moments not knowing who's going to come out victorious. Because the racing's close, you really have no idea if someone's going to make a last-ditch lunge down the inside going into the final turn, because they're close enough to do it. It's exciting stuff. The drivers, the standard of drivers is pretty bloody high. I mean, we've got some brilliant drivers now competing in Formula E, and lots of them are very closely matched. Lots of them now have got a good 3 years experience behind them of how to drive these cars. We have seen some very good drivers come into Formula E and yet not be able to master it straight off. These are difficult cars to drive, so it needs a good driver, and we're very lucky that the lineup in Formula E is absolutely full of them. Now, I know that people will criticise things like fan boost and things like the mid-race car swaps that currently have to happen, and I get that, I understand that, but if you're criticising those, generally you're probably looking at it from a perspective of a Formula One fan. And Formula E is not trying to be an electric version of Formula One. So what you have to do is get that out of your head and look at Formula E as something completely different, completely unique. Things like fan boost and the silence, or the difference, in fact it's not silence, there is a sound that comes with Formula E, it's quite a futuristic sound, but it's not the loud screaming V8 engine noise that Formula One fans desperately want to hear. The mid-race car swap, these are all unique properties of Formula E, and I actually think that something like the mid-race car swap adds something to the spectacle, adds something to the event. If you look at Formula E with a blank, clean sheet of paper, if you approach it with a completely open mind, which I know is difficult to do if you're a traditional motorsport fan. Look, I'm one of the biggest Formula One fans, traditional motorsport fans in the world. I've been a big fan of gas-guzzling, noisy motorsport for my whole life, but I also appreciate that it's not the only thing. And actually, Formula E is something very different, but if you look at it as a standalone race championship, as a standalone event, it's impressive and it's entertaining. And entertaining is the biggest thing it's trying to be. What's Formula One trying to be now more than ever? Entertaining. Formula E's already got it. The technology in Formula E is just brilliant. You know, I got involved in motorsport, in Formula One, right in the very beginning because of the technology. I'm a fan of anything that's technologically brilliant. And whether we like it or not, whether you like it or not, the technology that's in the Formula E cars now and in electric cars that are being pioneered all the time, we will all be using, we will all be having to embrace, we'll all be benefiting from, we'll all be having a lot of fun with, because electric cars, if you've never driven one, go take a test drive. They are amazing. So to see this technology being developed in Formula E at the rate that it's being developed at, which is impressive in itself, is something to behold. And having people, having engineers, teams getting to understand that technology and accelerate the learning process and the development is something that I've watched since the very first race in Beijing in 2014. The rate of improvement, the rate of understanding has gone incredibly rapid over the last few years. So if you want to see cutting edge technology blooming and blossoming and finding its way onto the streets, onto the road, in road cars that we will all be using, Formula E is a place to start watching. These cars are difficult cars to drive, the Formula E cars. They have low grip. The instant maximum torque from the electric motor means acceleration is phenomenal. Yet the tyres give very low grip. The street tracks that we race on are generally low grip. They're dusty, they're dirty. There's no testing on these Formula E circuits because generally they're only finishing building them on the night before the race, having shut down the city centre and stopped traffic. High power, low grip, tight, twisty tracks that no one's been on before. Some of the best ingredients for spectacular racing. The locations we get to go to are pretty amazing. Some of the most iconic city centres around the world. The big brands involved. You cannot have failed to escape the news that we now have people like Jaguar, Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, Renault, Nissan about to join. All of these huge global automotive brands see some value in Formula E. So if they see it, you know what I'm going to say, so can you. Is Formula E saving the planet? Of course it isn't. No, it's not. They're not even trying to save the planet on their own. But what they are doing is raising awareness that there is some different way of doing things to the way that we do things now. And that's all you can do. You know, people are very comfortable and familiar with the things that they've done forever, like driving combustion engine vehicles. But we now know that those vehicles and some of the industry practices that we have are killing this planet. So the only way you change that is by convincing enough people that there's an alternative that's as good or better. And electric cars are very close to reaching that tipping point where they are a better, certainly as good as, probably better alternative. And what Formula E is doing is bringing that to people's attention. It's making people aware that electric cars can be fun, they can be exciting, they're fast, they're entertaining. That's how you start to save the planet, by changing the opinions of the masses. And that is why I want you guys to watch the telly this weekend and have a look for yourselves. Quite happy for anybody to go away, watch Formula E and come back after watching it and tell me you don't like it, tell me the reasons why. But if you've not seen it yet, if you haven't given it a try, this weekend is your opportunity. Marrakesh Prix on Saturday. Go ahead and watch it and come back and then tell me what you think of it afterwards. You can be a Formula One fan as well as a Formula E fan. I'm proof. Go and watch it. And if you can't watch it, I'll be doing commentary on Formula E radio this weekend, so you can listen to it as well.